Welcome back to the Enlightened Misfits podcast. I am your host, Lauren, and today's episode, I have Heather. She is an intuitive artist. Welcome, Heather. I know you were on season one that is no longer with us, but season two, I'm so happy to interview you and get all of the goodness that you are doing now. I think it actually has it been a year since
It
we did?
probably has. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm happy to have you back anyway.
Well, thank you for having me back.
Of course. So can you kind of tell us a little bit about who you are, what the intuitive artist that you do, and how you kind of incorporate it into your business?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you again for having me back. It's great to see you again. I'm based out of Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm an intuitive artist, visual artist, so I do a lot of painting, but primarily I have something called synesthesia, which means that my brain crosses the signals, and when I take in information like a sound or a taste or a smell, turns it into a color or a shape or a form in my mind. I'm also strongly clairsentient. So when I create a painting for somebody, I'm sort of reading their energy and their colors and creating what I call a spirit portrait for them that tells them the area of their body where they dwell the most and where they could use a little healing and support.
I love that. And I was going to say, I have to say, I have you gifted me one of your paintings, and I cannot wait. Actually, I have it, and I'm going to hang it up in my new house. So I will make sure I take a picture and tag you so you can see it where I put
Thank you. I
it.
remember your beautiful colors. I remember them.
Now, and it's funny, I've actually had a couple other, like a soul reading and my soul name. And it's funny that my business colors, like my brand colors, are literally it's tied in, with the mermaid color. And I was like, oh, okay, that's why my soul like blues and like
Blues and
that.
greens. Yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful.
green, yes, yep. So, can you kind of explain a little bit about how like color can influence, our spiritual or our emotional well-being so
Yeah,
that
for sure.
people can use it for healing?
Color is one of those things that it's a language that we all speak. And when we connect with color, we understand how color shows up for us. We can use it very intentionally to help support our lives. So, for example, the color that you wear is communicating something to yourself and to the people that you interact with that day through the emotional, spiritual, or physical aspects that that color represents. And so I intuitively read color through the chakra system. So when I see a color for somebody, I associate it with what chakra does that color align with? What is the physical, spiritual, or emotional sort of component that that color is talking about? And then what does that say about the person, sort of where they dwell, maybe where there might be pain, or maybe where there's just a place where they need some more support and nurturing and love in that area. So when you understand sort of what the color means, then you can start to use it. So, for example, if you want to feel more confident, you want to feel more courageous, you might start to wear yellow because yellow is going to help you stand up and look more optimistic, look more joyful. It'll give you a little boost of energy. Or if you're in, feeling a little bit like you want to stay behind the scenes, or you're sort of feeling like you don't really want to be seen, you might wear black and you sort of blend in a little bit more. So there's a lot of different ways that we can use color in our lives through wardrobe, homes, decorating, and literally everything.
I was gonna ask you about the color black because that's what I have on right now if you're watching this on YouTube. But it's like a blackish gray. But sometimes black, I feel like black, if I'm working on my root chakra, I wear a lot of black. I
Yes.
always wear black pants, but I notice that I wear a lot of black or if I just feel like I need some extra protection.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true with that's what it is for me. So I'm curious about that. But I
Yeah.
did notice lately I wore yellow and orange this week. I'm just trying to think of all the shirts that I wore this week. And I also wore like a golden, I think it was yesterday, like a golden yellow.
Oh,
So been wearing like and I look at myself and I'm like, wow, yellow looks good on me too. But it's also one of my soul colors I know we talked about that before we started recording, but it's also one of my soul colors and my soul, I feel happy in yellow. So
yeah. Yeah. No, you're spot on. I think that there are definitely times when black comes in handy for a bit of protection. It is definitely a color that is for the root chakra. I notice that too when I'm working on my root. If I'm worried about finances, if I feel like I'm unsteady, if I feel like I just need a little bit of like extra grounding, it's
Yeah.
black is my go-to. And I don't wear it that often, but when I do, I always feel like I'm taking a little retreat. I need to sort of take a step back. I need to, but
Yeah.
then there are times where like the yellow, you feel drawn to a particular color because that color is offering you something and that color is ministering to you in some way. So if you notice a trend in the colors that you're drawn to, it's really interesting to look at what that color represents. And then you can sort of understand, oh, I might be going through an identity change. I might be shifting how I see myself. I might be moving into more of a creative energy. So those yellows and oranges for you are probably signaling that you're sort of experiencing some sort of shift or transition, and you're looking for a little extra support around how you see yourself and what you want to create in the world.
Yeah, and I love that too because I physically actually just moved too. So I so
Right.
I was like, oh, okay, like it's not that, I'm worried about money or but like my physical stability where I used to be like for the last 3, I guess it's been 3 years now, is moved. So it's like I can see why I'm wearing more. And I normally just always wear black pants, but shirts is what you know, uh, that I try to, and sometimes I try to wear like, pink leggings or like, something that's like not normally what I wear because I'm like, black goes with everything, but it's like typically my shirts and stuff. And since we've talked like last time and you've told me that little nugget, I was like, now I'm more aware of what do I want to wear? And if the people, and I always tell people, if you don't know what you want to wear, I always say, an old previous podcast guest had told me this, and I was like, maybe you could just think about how you feel and then
Yeah.
relate it to what you want to wear. And then I feel like, but I think intuitively and subconsciously, everybody does that, and they're not even aware that they do that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that does make a lot of sense when you kind of just want to like hide away or like don't want to be seen. You wear black.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So yeah, I definitely can resonate with that too, like with that. But for like why I'm like, oh, black, I have gray or black, like black, grayish black on. And that could be why now that I think about it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting. I had when I worked in a corporate environment before I left to do art full time, I would always have coworkers come to me and be like, "Girl, tell me why do I keep wearing this yellow sweater every day? Like, why do I want to wear this?" Or like, "Tell me what this color means or this symbol that I saw." And it's so fascinating because I think, like you said before, we're not always aware. And I feel like if you just kind of drop into this relaxed place where you can look at things and go, "Oh, I've seen this symbol," or I've seen like I did a story the other day on Instagram where I'd shown my laundry and I was putting my clothes away and every single thing on my hanger was stripes, every single thing. And I was like, oh, okay, I just noticed a pattern. What are these stripes showing me? And stripes
Okay.
represent surrender. So it was so interesting to
Um,
look at where I was spiritually, trying to minister to myself to be in a state of surrender. And each color represented a different place of surrender within my chakras. So it's fascinating when you really pay attention to things like that. It tells you a lot.
yeah, I was going to say, do I even have any stripes? I don't even think I have any stripes, but I'll have to be very like conscious about if I go towards stripes. I like the earth tones, or I have ventured out to be like pink or like purple, like your shirt. And it's like, it
Uh-huh.
makes me, or green. I wear green a lot too lately to like for like heart and stuff.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing
Yeah. Oh,
that.
sure, sure.
So, when you talked about your corporate career, so how from transitioning from your corporate career to like a spiritual entrepreneur journey has impacted your own mental health and emotional health?
Yeah, a lot, tremendously. I think I sort of returned to art. I had always been a spiritual kid. I was kind of like, a 5 or 6 year old spiritual kid. My parents were like, you should have been born in the 60s. You're a hippie. Like, I was just always drawn to the mysteries of the unexplained. Like I wanted to understand everything there was about the world. I still do. I have big questions and I just love to dig in and understand about how things work and why. And so spirituality was always a part of my life. I think I was sort of driven to move into art and spirituality when I was a young kid, and then
Mhm.
sort of fell into the idea that you can't make money as an artist, you've got to go do something else. And so I launched into this corporate career for almost 20 years, maybe longer. And I sort of felt myself kind of draining it to the degree that no amount of time off or sleep or vacation was going to fix it. It was like soul tired. It was like soul
Yeah,
burnout.
yeah,
And I was working with a spiritual teacher. We talked about what were you like as a kid? And the idea of art floated back up. And it was like a light bulb went off. And I realized that that had always been there for me. And I had sort of kind of stepped off the path of that. And I kind of dove right back into art. And that's when I think things started to shift for me mentally. I started to work more on art making. And I don't know if you know this, but there are actually studies that show working with your hands, making art of any kind reduces your cortisol levels. It moves you into a relaxed state. So even if you've never painted or drawn or made music or cook or whatever, it lowers your cortisol. So it instantly brings you into, a stress-free state. And so I continued working, but started making art. And at one point had gotten presented with a big, big promotion and lots of money or a solo art show, my very first one. And I kind of felt like, okay, I intuitively feel more excited about this little art show
yeah,
than I
yeah,
do about this heap of cash. And that's when I knew that it was time to move on. So that was a big decision. I think that's still something that for me was like a running leap off a cliff into, a net that you hope is down there.
right.
But it was something I needed to do for my mental health because I didn't think that I was going to survive the stress of work anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Now, and when you said about the like when you kind of take that like that leap of faith or that change that change and it's like that net. Usually, I always tell people that too. I actually just had a conversation with a client about it. She's like, "But what if it doesn't work out?" And I was like, "Then what is going to change in your life?" Obviously, I can understand if you're going from one job to the next, but if
Mhm.
it's like if you listen to yourself, like you said, if you get in the state of relaxation, then if you're going to be supported with God, the universe, source, whatever you believe in your higher power, because that's like a calling, like a soul calling.
Right.
But most of the time, it's like until you actually do it, you're not going to see the results. It's more of like, do I trust myself enough to do it? Yeah, I have a lot of those experiences, especially moving. I'm like, is this the right thing? Should I just do it? And I'm like, well, I guess if it doesn't work out, then I can just go back to before,
Mhm.
right? And most of the time, it works out for the best. And it's more of like, I've noticed for myself, it's more of like I trust myself. So it's like, well, if I'm guiding myself or the universe is guiding me to somewhere where I need maybe like a lesson or an opportunity for a lesson,
Mhm.
most of the time that's not the case. It's usually a blessing. But it's just like those old programs that pop back up, especially if it's like this is familiar, I've been here before, but I know something different about it now. So yeah, I love that I love that you actually chose that one thing because I would have never met you.
I know, right? I know. That's so true. I think you're 100% right. There's this idea of listening to yourself and knowing yourself and trusting yourself enough to know that when you feel that, like that body tension or you feel that somatic sort of response to something, that
Yeah,
maybe it's telling you something. And I always try to pay attention to how my body reacts. If it feels tight or constricted, then I know that may not be for me. But if it feels open and excited and I can feel like my cells going, "Woo, this is exciting," then I know like that might be for me. I think it's Ianla Van Zant who says like if you don't have a little pee running down your leg, you're not you're not doing the right thing. Like
right.
you're gonna have
Yeah.
to do it scared, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 100%. Yeah, I definitely can resonate with all of that because I feel like even through my own transformational journey, just from it's been a year, like I've done so much healing, deep healing, like now being a certified, shaman practitioner. And it's like I've always wanted to go down this journey. And it was like I was constantly resisting the journey just because of previous past life, I was a shaman. I've always been drawn to the shamanic ways, the practices. And then I realized I started at Reiki. I started here. I was like, I have to go be a yoga teacher. I have to go do this. I have to go do that. And it's just like, now you're here. And then I was like, gosh, if I would have done this 3 years ago, I probably be a little bit further. But then I'm like, no, I can't look at it like that. I have to look at it from, just because of going through their own, shamanic journey. I realized I've learned all this stuff. I've done this stuff, but it's just a deeper level of healing. And I feel like with the painting, I feel like that's what you can kind of, what I've noticed from my own painting that you gave me, I noticed, wow, it's a different perspective on how to look at healing. And it's in the way of art. Like,
Yeah.
and most people like color and they like some type of, I need something to look at to remember maybe where I was before or where I can go. Like I go. I
Yeah.
feel like that's what, when I looked at the picture when I had it hanging up in my other house, that's what it reminded me of who I was before and where I'm going. And I feel like that just gets deeper every single time I go through like that next layer of healing.
100%. 100%. And what's so interesting too is that when you move from one level of healing to the next and you sort of ascend, right, in your
Mhm.
spiritual journey, your energy changes, your colors change, your chakras get balanced, like all these different things change. So what's interesting too is I wonder if I were to redo your portrait, what it would say this
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Because, when you go through those deeper healing moments or you go through experiences that offer you such a transformation, oftentimes what I will see in your energy is going to be different than the portrait that you had before. So
Ah,
it's
okay.
fascinating
That's
because you
interesting. Yeah. I was going to say, I don't feel like if I'm remembering from the first painting, it was a lot of blue, a lot of water, a lot of emotion.
Mhm.
I mean, my whole soul was pretty much all emotion. I feel like every part of it, I feel like that I've learned,
Yeah.
being in human design, have an emotional authority. So, but I feel like I'm so emotional resilient now that before my emotions would take me, it would be like weeks. I would just be stuck in like dealing with a chakra, like a sacral issue, or like my hips. I couldn't do different things because I would hold all this emotion, or I wouldn't be able to speak like this is how I feel, or this is, if it's, in my relationship, or if it's to my parents, or if it's just to my daughter, like tell her like how this is making me feel, or even tell my inner child, like this is making me feel this way, or like dealing with shame or whatever it is. I feel like I'm able to set that boundary and, not let it affect anything that I'm doing. But before it would sabotage everything, even like my business, it would like put me back and I would be on this hamster wheel to get back. And I feel like now I don't allow it to happen because I have good boundaries, like with myself and everybody else like around me. So
Yeah, that's amazing. Good work.
yeah, that would be interesting. Looking back on like who I was, even like last month or like the month before that, I see so much transformation, just because of just allowing it to happen, right? Too. But
Yeah.
I was going to say, I have to say, I use the painting a lot to remind myself that's where I used to, like, that's where I was before. And especially your amazing description of everything. So can you kind of tell the listeners kind of like step by step on how you kind of do things? Because we're talking about my painting and they're probably like, what painting are you talking about?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So those are called spirit portraits. And typically, when I do a spirit portrait for someone, I will look at their picture. I can do them for people who are living, or people who are deceased, or for pets, or for spaces, or really anything, because I'm tuning into the energy of that person, place, or thing, which is so interesting too. So I will sit with a picture of somebody and I will meditate on each of their chakras, and I will receive in my mind's eye like a color or a symbol or a shape or something that would kind of tell me a little bit about what's happening in their energetic body. And then I'll start to work on the painting. And typically it'll be anywhere from like 1 to 3 colors. I have done a painting for somebody who passed away that I literally felt like he was standing behind me going, pick that color next, pick that color next. And it was so colorful. I was like, okay, okay, got it, got it. It's fascinating. Um, but I'll do the painting and then I'll read what comes through. So I will sort of sit with it for a little bit and go, okay, here's what I see in this section. Here's what I see in this section. Here's what I was sort of intuitively getting for as far as messages go. And then we'll hop on a Zoom call and I'll show you your painting, and then I'll ship it out to you so that you can let it minister to you for healing, and just to kind of remind you, like you said, that you are, a radiant spirit, and that you're here for experiences, and everything that you go through, you're being supported through it.
Yeah, I love that. And I always like you said, there's different healing. And I feel like pictures or sound or color has always been huge for me. Like when I'm like, if I'm going through, a period of healing, because I always remind people we're not always healing. It's not
Yeah.
like you're always in the shadow. It comes usually for me, it could be different for everybody, but it's like every 3 months, it's like, okay.
Are we here
I
again?
need to do some deep healing, but it's like obviously a conscious effort to make sure you're better than the day before, but it's not like you have to do deep healing work,
All the time.
every
Yeah.
single day. Like, sure, you have to have a routine. Sure, you have to make sure that you're journaling and, you're grounding your energy, especially, wherever you are in your, journey. I feel like, for me, I don't know if it's the same for you, but like I have to go ground my energy, or I'm always in my headspace, or I'm like, I'm too overwhelmed, or, I'm always
Mhm.
overthinking something. And it's just like, if I just put my feet in the grass and just calm down, calm myself down and tell myself it's going to be okay.
Yep.
No, the world is not going to blow up tomorrow. Right? Yeah.
Yep.
So we have a lot, there's a lot of different people that listen to this podcast, but a lot of them are entrepreneurs. So what specific chakra should an entrepreneur focus on to maintain balance and drive, maybe for success or and to help keep them aligned?
Oh my gosh, that's a really great question. I feel like I think we move in and out of the chakras depending on what it is that we're working on. So the first one that pops up for me is the crown chakra, number one, because I think that we have to build in time and space to meditate and to quiet our minds and to be open to receiving whatever wants to come through. I know that for me, if I am right now, I'm in a period of busy. I'm in a period of just moving from one thing to another, and my brain can't compartmentalize fast enough for me. So I know I'm not making the time to meditate, right? If I feel that chaos there, then I know I need to quiet it down. So that's sort of the number one thing, is that you can really throw yourself into a tizzy with busy if you don't find time to ground or to meditate or to really move into stillness. So that's number one, I think, is connecting, meditating, and then grounding. So your crown and your root, I think, are the ones that sort of hold you firm in place so that you don't spin off, go in a million directions, you know?
I only say that is because I do this every single day, right? Like I like walk the walk, and I also, I'm like raw and real about it and authentic, because I forgot. Like there was two or three. It's not that I forgot. I just act like I didn't have time, but I needed to make time, right? And it was like I
Yeah.
don't have time to do this today. I'm too busy, right? But at the same time, it's just like it could be 2 minutes, Lauren, walk outside, or you don't have to meditate. I feel like spiritual world with meditation, people ask like, I can't sit quietly.
Yep.
I'm like, but you can walk somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And just, or driving, like you can drive now, like, no, you shouldn't close your eyes and but like if you're driving, that's part of meditation. You're consciously aware of your thoughts. I always feel like when people say they can't meditate, I'm like, but I'm sure you do. So let's figure out in the shower, like
Yes.
I get most of my downloads or my ideas in the shower because I'm focusing on just getting a shower
Same.
versus what I have to do. Or I'm driving, I get a lot of downloads too when I'm driving because I'm just thinking.
Well,
Like,
and you gave yourself that space to just be
yeah,
quiet, you know?
yeah. Or I'm not like, I'm not with my daughter, or I'm
Right.
not with, like Joey or something like that, or I'm not with my family, or I'm not with my clients. Like I do know that solitude for me is important. So if I'm spiraling like that, like last week when I was like, between moving and stuff, and that's just chaos anyway. But I was like, I need to be by myself for an hour, or nobody's going
Mhm.
to be happy. I'm just saying.
Yep.
I just need or 5 minutes, please. So everybody just leave me alone.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Same way. And
Yeah,
I'm an introvert too, so I really need that alone time to just, like, recharge my battery and fill my cup back up, or
yeah,
I just feel depleted, and then if somebody says something to me or asks me to do something, I'm like, I don't have the bandwidth for this," and I'm like, "I just need to go sit for 20 minutes by myself. I will be okay."
yes, yes. So yeah, it's actually there's something I always thought I was an introvert too, mixed with an extrovert, but there's an antrovert. I think it's called an I think I'm
Oh,
saying so it's between both because I like people. I love to be around people, but then I also don't. So it's like I'm like I need. So I just Googled it one day, and I'm like, what does it mean to like to be an introvert, but also to be an extrovert? It's like I love speaking. I love being around people, but I still need to balance that time with being alone. And I'm like, is that just like is this abnormal? And it literally, I think it's an antivert or an
oh yeah,
ambivert or something like that. So I'm like, oh, okay. So it's not, this is not a weird thing. This is like an actual normal thing, you know,
yeah.
not that I need to be normal, but it's like, is this a thing? Like I was asking somebody else and, you know, one of my mentors was like, I'm that way. I'm 100% that way. Like I love people, but I don't want to be around people all the time. I was like, okay. Okay. So I'm glad that we're on the same wavelength here.
Yep.
So just before we wrap up, can you give any maybe inspiring to be spiritual entrepreneurs or even entrepreneurs some advice that you maybe if they are in the corporate world and who feel like they have that soul calling,
Mhm.
what would you tell them or maybe be able to help them know or see to overcome this fear and take that leap of faith?
Yeah, I think that for a lot of us, we are all gifted. We all have some sort of spiritual gift that we're meant to share with the world, whether it is as a full-time job or as a side hustle or whatever it is. I think that we all have things that we're meant to do while we're here. And so part of it is really kind of doing the work to understand what is that gift for you. For me, I think it shows up a lot when we're kids. And for me, it came back around when I was almost in my 40s. So it definitely is something that lives within you. And I think when you can sort of quiet your mind again and kind of think about what were you like as a kid? What were you curious about? Or what if you had to get up on a stage today and talk for 10 minutes about something? What would your topic be? What would you want to share? And I think
Yeah,
there's like a gift in that, right?
yeah,
And so sort of follow your curiosity about that and see where it takes you. And then the other thing I think is, put your blinders on and don't look left or right. Stay the course and compete with yourself. Don't compete with anybody else. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. You have to find what is authentic to you. You have to feel like what you're doing is representative of who you are, and don't worry about the stuff on either side. Just stay the course with you, find your connection to your higher power, your source or God, whatever that is for you, and get in the same boat and roll gently down the stream, I think.
now, if anybody is listening to this and they think, wow, art is something that, and I'm not sure because I haven't looked at your website lately, but do you teach people how to do this too if they feel like they're driven to art? Do you have a course on that, or is that something that you do? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm working on it
Okay.
now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if I should ask this now or should I ask it later? I'm like, I'm just going to ask this now.
You made my crown tingle.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So by the time this recording comes out, then you'll probably have this done. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask if people are listening, like, oh, I love art, or I love some type of like, even if it's not like I'm an artist, or somebody that was a tattoo artist actually turned into. I realized that she now does the paintings, and she's like, I started out being a tattoo artist because you still are an artist. Same thing with if you do hair or you're, something like that. That's still art. You're still using color.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm working on a course right now for managing anxiety with art. So, trying to work through any sort of worry, fear, anxiety, or just generally like feeling a little frenetic and using art as a means to kind of still the mind and find quiet and balancing that with, okay, what colors are you drawn to? What do they mean? What are they showing you? So it's sort of a mix of chakras, art, meditation, and healing all rolled into one.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Now, where can they find that? Is this on your website? Where can they find you also on social media too?
Yeah, I have some special gifts for your listeners at heathereck.com/thank you. So you can find all the information about my freebies out there and my courses and everything as well.
Okay, I was going to say I'll make sure that they will be in the description box. If you're listening to this, they'll be in the description box, or they'll be on YouTube if you're watching it.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today with Heather on the Enlightened Misfits podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe. You can leave a review and then share this episode with somebody that you feel that would gain knowledge from listening. Make sure you also check out her website and everything that she has for you guys. There's those freebies too. So stay tuned for more captivating conversations in the future. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and I will see you next time.